All right, looks like we are live. Welcome to Tekion booth. Thank y'all very much for joining us today. We've got a distinct panel of speakers from different parts of the U.S. that have served on the dealer advisory board for Tekion. And the most important part is they've done the heavy lifting for a lot of you guys who have said, hey, wait till we see how these guys are doing, and then we'll consider Tekion. So we'll start with some introductions.
I'm Mike Bowsher. I'm the dealer and owner of the Power Black Automotive Group. We've got 200 stores in Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida.
Good. You got plenty to say grace over, it sounds like. Great. And Charles?
My name is Charles Winton. I own 3 GM stores, 1 in Florida and 2 in the Carolinas. And I've been on Tekion now for about a year and a half.
Good for you.
And I'm Todd Ingersoll. We've got 3 stores, and we were the first stores in the country to go live on Tekion and the first dealer group to go live. So we've been on for about 2.5 years.
Good. Well, so what we'll do is I'm just going to throw out some questions. Obviously, these guys, I'd love for them to feel comfortable to throw out questions as well. We'll get some questions from the audience. But Mike, if I could start with you. And Todd and Charles, I'll let you all join in on this answer as well. If we look at the technology challenges that are taking place in dealerships right now, what would you say are 1 to 2 at the top of your list, Mike?
I think things are moving so fast. Let me answer like this. Things are moving so fast in this industry in a competitive environment that one thing that keeps me up at night is I want a company that helps me stay in the top 1%, right at the tip of the spear as far as technology. Folks that bring those things to me, because a lot of times we all get busy and, it's a year later and the technology's passed as you're trying to catch up. That's the thing about Tekion. They keep you on the tip of the spear, and automation is their biggest thing. If I could say anything about Tekion and the future, if you are looking at a DMS changeover, I would point my store north towards Tekion. There's a lot of legacy DMS providers out here, probably some standing out here right now, and I got really popular about once every 3 years or 5 years, right? And the thing about Tekion, these folks have a team they assign to your store, and it moves quick, and these people are always on top of you. So I will answer it this way. If you're looking for a DMS company that has open APIs with the OEMs, and the data is pulled so fast, so quick. What you know about that customer that you sold 3 or 4 years ago, you know the incentive that they used last time, you know the payoff instantly on their car, the APIs are now open. We're talking end to end with these people. So when you have your DMS with the power of the OEM and the power of Tekion all combined, this is so slick, so fast. Our store typically closes in about 4 or 5 days through the month. We close now in 3 days. Everybody paid, books are closed, financial statements at the factory. This thing's slick. You have to look at this.
Wow. Well, that's impressive. And obviously, Todd, being the first one to go on, you've had the most experience. Could you kind of tell a little bit about your own technology challenges?
Sure. Look, I think technology today is in the car buying experience. I almost look at it like a stool. So the guest that we serve is at the top of the stool, and there's 3 legs. And those 3 legs are made up of the car, the OEM, and the dealership. And how that information flows amongst the 3 of us allows us to serve the customer better. And we needed a provider that was on the cutting edge of that technology to make that happen. And we were frustrated with our legacy partner that we had. Like Mike said, every 3 to 5 years, we would get popular with them with stuff that only half worked. It didn't work all the way. Now it does. And it's been mind-blowing. The efficiencies, the way we've been able to deploy staff throughout the pandemic, how we did it with less people, touchless processes that never could have been done. And I kind of coined this phrase that a Tekion day is a legacy provider year as far as how quickly they move.
Well said.
That is extremely well said. And I think that echoes a lot with me personally from my own experience. Charles, anything you care to add?
I think the one thing I would add is that the most common complaint from customers is it takes 2 to 3 hours to buy a car. And part of that is a technology problem. But with everything streamlined, with the CRM package, the DMS system all integrated with one provider, you cut out a lot of time. And so that's been the biggest savings of time for our customers.
Well, yeah, I want to go back and talk a little bit more about what you described, Mike, the situation where the guest comes through, we've got all the information on their historical preferences, their purchases, their service history, and things of that nature. A lot of industries, we call up and they know everything about us. We have been really left behind in automotive. So is that happening now, or is that a promise to come?
No, that is with General Motors. That's happening now because the API's integration with these folks. So imagine having one spot that your sales managers and service advisors can grab that information. They don't have to have multiple screens open with multiple different companies and vendors and all this stuff. We all need to get down to where we have 1 or 2 vendors from end to end. And yes, so all this data is out there. It's out there now. With GM, it's called Connect. It's integrated with Tekion. And this is slick. I'd also like to add, I think everyone needs to know, is when you get your DMS bill from your legacy provider, it's about that thick. It takes about a week to go through it, right? There's always errors and good luck trying to get that done. This is one page. You get one page. That's it. And you're not signing your life away for 10 or 15 years. This is so simple.
And it's, let me see that, Mike. I think the thing that we have to remember too, the inefficiencies for our guests that we serve really comes at the handoffs. It's the handoffs between service and parts. It is the handoffs when you are going from sales to any one of those other areas that you're working with. And having that data work seamlessly means that the guest experience is so far ahead of anything we've been able to provide in the past. So in the past, you'd see something at a legacy provider and go, man, that looks really good, but it only half worked when you got back to your store. It never fully worked. It only partially did, and you paid for it for 18 months before it even half worked. And that I always found to be pretty frustrating.
All right, so what I'd love to do now is we're going to switch questions, and I'll come back to you, Charles. You and I have had a lot of conversations, not just with the advisory board, but separately. What do you look for in a technology partner? Todd briefly touched on his perspective. When you considered Tekion, was it just because your friends did it? Was it something where you looked at your situation in your store? What caused you to choose Tekion?
I spent 10 years working for car dealers as an accountant.
Closer.
I spent 10 years working for car dealers as an accountant. And I never understood why a car dealer had to sign a 5-year contract, pay the upfront cost, and then get a consultant to navigate and negotiate the contract, a straitjacket contract at that. And so the thing that instantly impressed me about Tekion was a 30-day contract. And that meant to me that they had the confidence in their product that they didn't have to straitjacket me with no outs if I didn't like their product. And if you think about that, in our industry, we've got to get out of the dark ages. So that was what instantly impressed me from a partnership standpoint with Tekion. And lastly, I'll take that partnership word especially because typically if I'm paying you money, you're a vendor. Partnership means that we're working together, and that's what I feel about Tekion.
I love that description, and I think some people use partner kind of loosely, like we want to partner up. I always used to say, if we're partners, I need to share the profit, right? So I know they're getting a share of mine. So Todd, I'll take you back a little bit in time. It's my upbringing. Our office manager, we moved to electronic bookkeeping, and her hours increased, and I couldn't understand why with all this automation. And she was running another set of books manually. And we finally figured that out because she didn't trust the technology. You've already been through the transition. Let's talk about the impact on your employees, how it feels to work with someone who actually listens to them.
So we've switched providers over the years 2 or 3 times. And anytime you switch your DMS, it's like a heart-lung transplant for your organization. I mean, it's just brutal. You go through all of the issues and basically all of the, I'll say, workarounds that they've created for the things that didn't work in the system, they're all used to. It's almost like muscle memory, right? And so my comptroller, who's here with me today, Deanne, she said, look, I've got confidence in this system when we went through it with them as partners, that this is going to bring a level of efficiency. And I don't think the transition is going to be that bad. And lo and behold, instead of a heart-lung transplant, it was a Band-Aid. It wasn't that bad. It was easy to implement. The training modules, you didn't have to spend, fortunes, have people fly back 50 times just to get something to work. It did exactly what they said it would do. And it was done in a way that was both efficient and I think it allowed people to go, this is pretty cool. The other thing is we didn't need subject matter experts that had been in the industry for 30 years to work for us. So we've been able to bring new people on at a lower pay scale, right? That are used to a technology that kind of flows like Apple would. It's intuitive. And you didn't need somebody who's been doing it on a legacy system for 30 years to get it to work.
It's interesting you say that because all of us have had people, particularly during the pandemic, who have had to take time away from work, a lot of unexpected things. What was Tekion like? And I'll start with you, Charles. What was Tekion like to work through this kind of a challenging business environment?
I think Tekion has been an excellent partner to these tough times, but I want to go back to something that Todd spoke to too. When you try to hire people, you want to hire people that have some experience with your DMS system because it's so painful to hire somebody who never worked with CDK or Reynolds or some legacy provider. But we don't have that issue anymore. Someone can learn the CRM package, they can learn the desking tool in a day. A service advisor, where it would take a month if a service advisor can really catch on to it. We don't have that issue with that. Again, it's about getting out of the dark ages in our business.
I have to agree with what both these folks have said. The younger folks in your organization are going to teach themselves it's that easy. I mean, it's that simple. It's us old guys, that fight the system and raise hell and, not excuse my language, but just absolutely are the ones that fight it. But the young folks teach themselves. It's that easy to do. I'd also say at our store, I know that we've been able to eliminate 3 positions because of the automation and things that this has been able to do in our accounting department, which saves us money. Okay, and one thing I'll tell you too, everyone here needs to ask Tekion about Tekion Pay. This is the slickest thing ever, this Tekion Pay. Okay, we're having issues with a company called Heartland and PayPal not connected right and all this stuff. Basically, you just swipe anything on this deal. It already knows, the system's so intuitive, it already knows what customer that belongs to and clears out, your bucks. It just automates. Everything's automated. It's that slick. So,
And back to the pandemic, we were able to have some of our team members, specifically in our accounting department, that had an elderly parent and couldn't be at the store. They were too worried. And we were able to deploy the technology right to their house. They were able to work from home to actually continue working while the pandemic was going on. And her name's Carol, and she's been with us for years. That would have been somebody that had to be replaced. And so it was a win-win for us. And, we could fire up right now on a laptop and be live instantaneously in the store. Things like, they came up with a touchless process in service that would have taken a decade on some of the other providers I've worked with in the past. And Tekion developed it, which allowed you to basically drop your keys off in service, pick your cars up for anybody who was too nervous, and they didn't have to touch anyone. So you think about that and how quickly they had to move to do it. Again, a Tekion day is a year with the legacy providers, from my experience.
Well, and I'm glad you opened the door for beyond the DMS because as I was walking into the convention, one of my friends said, we've been with the legacy provider for 20 years. We're curious about Tekion, but my concern is the habits that have been built, as you were alluding to, 20 years in service and parts. So for those of you who have experience and would care to speak to that, why don't we open up that broader spectrum beyond just the DMS at the accounting level? Mike, would you like to take that and talk about service and parts?
Well, I mean, again, it's just automation that all this is pulling in, and the integration that they can do with, other third-party providers that you have. It's just simple. You can do it all on a cell phone in like 2 minutes. Open the door up. You can do check-in cars. You can do parts, whatever. It's that easy and simple to do.
Let's go. Anything you care to add?
I think the cloud of the parts and service people was that the legacy providers, the software was so cumbersome and clunky. And yes, they had to be adept at navigating the software. You don't have that in Ring. So I think it's the complexity of dealing with, again, antiquated data, antiquated applications, and then on top of that, someone patching their application onto a legacy provider's DMS. So you got 3 or 4 vendors that your employees have to know how to work with and navigate their software.
So a specific example, around something that you could use in your service department that makes an impact right to the bottom line. We mentioned a Tekion early on because I think as a car dealer, I'm like a largemouth bass. I see something shiny in the water that will improve my customer experience. Whack, and it's only $1,000 a month, right? And so one specific example of that was the idea of sending a video of a walk around on a car for our technicians, who are the most trusted people within the organization when it comes to interfacing with a guest. We mentioned that to them early on, and they went, man, that's a really good idea. Well, it's now in the system. It doesn't cost extra. It's just there because it should be, because it transforms the guest experience. And now we're starting the process of integrating that into our system. So every car will have a walk around that's in for an oil change. The guests will get the live email or text message right from the technician himself or herself, and boom, all of a sudden that it adds legitimacy to what the service consultant was saying. So that's a specific example of, it's great that everybody was on a system for 20 years and they're all used to it, and you print reams of paper and all the other stuff that goes on. But the point is, the rest of the world has moved on. I mean, we're talking about being at a grocery store and punching in on these old registers and pulling the thing down, compared to the new way where you throw the stuff in your basket and walk out the front door. That's how drastically different it is from old to new.
Well, so now let's walk to the front of the dealership. And Kenny, who works with you, has spent a great deal of time with the CRM development. I got to walk through the system with him. He was very generous. Let's talk about what that is going to be like and how you like some of the, I guess probably the ability for you all, literally, Kenny, to say, I would recommend this change. It goes along with what Tyler's talking about. So let's talk about what that CRM relationship could and should look like so that our customers do get that experience that they're hoping for.
Again, I think it's because it's integrated. So the CRM package, the desking tool, the DMS, they're all one provider. You don't have e-reads or some other CRM provider attaching their application to your software. And it saves the time. And we were very fortunate that our business director got to work with developing the CRM package for the last year. And so we were the first ones in the country to utilize it, and it really helped us. And if there's one time you ought to be getting it right when times are so profitable, it's right now.
David, I'd like to tell the dealers or anyone out here looking at a DMS change to be aware of one particular thing. A lot of the legacy DMS companies want to own your network. Okay, your network should be your network. We've owned our network. So basically it's the road, I own the road, and I can put any DMS on it. Tekion, that's what they do. They come in, you own your own network. If you're paying a legacy provider you're leasing your network, they have total control of you and your future. You need to rip that out of their hands ASAP. You need to own your own routers, your own just entire network end to end. That's what Tekion does. They don't want to own your network. That's a control thing by legacy DMS providers. Do not do that. It's not that expensive. Technology's come down for $100,000. I think we owned our entire system for years. And they manage it. In security, in data security, they have multiple levels. We have to have security. These folks are experts at that. But make sure, no matter, just absolute advice, you own your own network. Do not lease your network from anybody. And these folks help you do that. And they'll manage it for you in that whole deal. That's very important.
And if you think about back to the CRM and how that stacks in with the DMS, the legacy systems typically a DMS at its core function is really managing money, right? The CRM is the customer management of it. And anytime I would be in the past and looking for a world-class CRM process, I would want it to work and bolt to and work seamlessly with the CRM. And the problem is they weren't written together. So a lot of these providers go out and buy a great CRM. They try to bolt it on their old DMS and it just doesn't work. This CRM was built to work seamlessly through it. And then the next layer above that, which some people are just getting into now, is digital retail, right? So your digital retail, your CRM, your DMS, they all have to speak and that data has to flow so that the stool with the three legs gives the guest the best experience.
Boy, I'm glad we're taping this because that's a real good layperson's explanation. What I'd like to ask you all to do is, Mike, you in particular really are focused on the APIs. When we banner that around like everybody's supposed to know what an API is. And just in plain speak, let's talk about what an API does for you.
Okay, so imagine that General Motors, in our case, or whatever OEM, all their computers are open and integrated and talking back and forth through Tekion and our DMS. Old school. I don't want the factory getting into my data. Well, one, they already got it. Okay. They've always had it. Right? Two is the power of us working together it's too competitive out there right now. It's ferocious. So the more that we know, we can understand that customer, what they bought last time for that, incentives they qualified for, were they, a gym employee or a supplier or whatever. I mean, it all is right there in front of you. It tells you what you got. And instant. I mean, that fast. Your desk managers are that fast. They have all that influence. That's what an open API does from end to end, from the OEM to the dealer to with Tekion. I mean, the power of this, and as Todd said, their CRM system with a virtual retailing tool, say a Gabagoo or Roadster, any of those sort of things. This is built, integrated in CRM. You are saving all that data with every single time you touch that customer. I mean, instead of going out to third parties and whatnot, streamlining this with one check, one customer, and world class. So that's an open API. Everybody's sharing all the info about all these customers.
That's really cool. So the world is changing as we walk the hallways, and every booth has some initials that say EV somewhere. And it's going to be a big impact. So Charles, let's start with you. Let's talk about how EV is going to change your business and why it's important, once again, to be involved with the Tekion.
I think as an entrepreneur, our best asset is that we have to be resilient. And we're in the middle of an industry that is rapidly changing. And I can't sit here today and say, what's going to happen with EVs? But I know that from a technology standpoint, I need to be, as Mike said, I need to be the tip of the spear so that I can rapidly translate in my business what's going on with the EV and take advantage of the EV business. So I think I want to go back to something you said, which is so important. I was thinking about what has happened with legacy providers and other application providers and their OEMs is that we've had adversarial relationships. And that's what the open APIs do. They get rid of the adversarial relationships. And so you own your data. And if you have a fight with Tekion, they're not going to hold your data hostage. And again, that's where our industry has to change. You shouldn't have an adversarial relationship that you pay tens of thousands of dollars to a vendor every month. That's crazy.
Around EVs. I mean, you look, whether or not it's an EV, it's a gas-powered car or a hydrogen-powered car. What you're seeing in the industry is some of these providers of those vehicles have found what they think is the ideal way to work with the customer. Very few people want to never talk to another human being, but there are a percentage of people who do want that. And it's very difficult on a legacy platform to adjust to what that change might be, even though it may only represent 10% of the customers. However, you have to have a platform that allows you to do it. You have to have a platform that communicates well with the car and ultimately the OEM. And if you don't, you will be at a strategic disadvantage not being on Tekion. I firmly believe that. You are at a strategic disadvantage already, and it will be exacerbated as we go down the road.
Well, so while we're on that topic, and hold the mic if you don't mind, I want to throw something out. We know the car is already talking to the technology, right? If you're a GM dealer, if you're other dealers, the car is notifying the dealership that this car needs some repair. Let's reach out to the guest. Can you see a day where Tekion is literally serving up all this opportunity coming through the EV relationship because they've got this connected data source with the dealer?
Yeah, I mean, I think in many ways it already is. When a guest is in our store now, waiting for service, the system will offer up to them things like, gee, I noticed your car has this many miles on it. Do you need a set of wiper blades? Because most people that are at that mileage do.
Yeah.
And we noticed you didn't select them on check-in. That's using artificial intelligence to kind of take it to the next level. It's stuff that is almost intuitive if you're at McDonald's ordering a meal now, right? I mean, anywhere you go, the whole world advanced except for automotive. And we were basically held hostage, and we've been freed.
It is nice, isn't it?
I would like to add, this industry's changing so fast, and Tekion folks, I can tell you now, OEMs are all looking at pickup and delivery. They're looking at mobile service, right? Because now you've got all these startup mobile service companies. I think Uber and Lyft's doing mobile service, and I think a lot of folks are getting into this. And these folks are building the technology now that you come in, you want to make an online scheduled service appointment. Well, what kind is it? Are you bringing it to us? Are we supposed to come pick it up? Or, is mobile, you want to be routed? And because we're in that area on Tuesdays, because we can't go all over Atlanta in 1 hour, right? So there's a lot going into this, but when you get into EVs, pickup delivery, mobile services being looked at big time. Also subscriptions. We all know we're going to be selling electric skateboards. They're going to put a car on top of it, a truck, car, whatever. We're selling skateboards now, and we're selling iPhones because our future is going to be in subscriptions, right? How about a company that's already integrated with the OEMs with open APIs, sharing information when we get into the subscription model? Because somehow this is going to be a huge revenue source and could replace, it's got to replace the degradation of fixed gross in EVs in the future. We've got to plug that hole. How are we going to play it, right?
There is no question. So what I'd like to end with is, what are you excited about when you look to the future? We just literally come through the weirdest part of my career. I'm 39th year in the car business, and I've never seen anything even remotely close to this. But you guys have figured it out. Now you're probably ready to take a breath. You're ready to navigate again. What are things you're excited about for the future?
Look, I think that every person that's in our industry loves our industry because it's constantly changing. That's one of the things that drives us. And the trick is having the tools to be able to change along with it. And this has been such an Achilles heel for us that, quite honestly, if Tekion hadn't been here, it could have really made a huge impact on how dealers were able to actually integrate with what the future looks like. Because I think they're going to force everybody else to change. And if they hadn't come along, it really could have been a big issue for all of us. So I'm happy to partner with somebody that has their eyes on the future and is excited about what we don't even know is coming around the corner. And that's what drives me personally, the excitement for what we don't even know is coming down the road.
I can't top that. I would say I'll just end it with that. That was very good. I mean, Tekion, all those people, and they're great people. Please spend some time in this booth, please.
The only thing I can say is that one of the things we've really been trying to do over the last year is not be so focused on selling cars that we forget to manage the business. And that's what Tekion is doing for us. It's giving us the opportunity to better manage our business. And when you think about that, we have multiple $10 million businesses that we need to be able to manage the data, to manage the people, to manage the business. That's what I'm excited about, because I think that's going to be the challenge in the future. What kind of business function are you? Not whether or not you're a car guy.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm glad we recorded this. This obviously will be shared broader than what we saw here. Very generous of you all to give your time. Go enjoy yourselves, and thank you for leading the way with Tekion.
Without question.
You better believe it. We are glad to take some questions.
First of all, I'm excited to hear what you guys have said. But my background is, I've been in the car business for 30 years. I was with Xerox, my boss was with IBM. I've been chasing the Holy Grail, and I've come to one conclusion when it comes to technology. Everybody lies. Oh yeah, I'm a good CRM. Oh yeah, I can do this. Oh yeah, I can do this. I don't believe Tekion is great at everything. Nobody. So when you give up a good CRM partner, I buy the integration, the silos that CDK has and those have done. Service file, deal file, I get that. I can see integration. I buy that. But is their CRM package the best? Are they better in service? They can't be great in everything. So are you compromising it so it's good at some things? And that's better than being a superstar at that. So I want some honesty. I want you to drink some ice and get you the idea, because that's the big issue, because no vendor has ever measured up to our expectation, because it's hard to do everything well.
Well, that was That was wonderful, and thank you. I think we got some people be glad to take that question.
Perry, you are spot on. There we go. I think you're spot on. And I don't believe that Tekion says they're perfect at everything. They don't. But what they do, which other providers don't do, is when we identify something in the system that doesn't work, they fix it right now. And that's the difference. And they're constantly innovating. So is there somebody who's going to have something down the road that'll be something shinier, newer? It's a better way to look at it? Sure. But you've got a system that can actually change quickly and still be integrated with everything else you're doing. And that's the difference, right? That really is the difference. You've got a core DMS that is so new with its technology, and these APIs that flow of that data, right? You know, IBM and Xerox and all that stuff. It allows that integration to happen. So is it perfect everywhere? The absolute primo of every single thing ever developed? No, because it's built by man. But what it does do is it will allow a quick change, and these guys are on it like that.
I need to back that up. I totally agree with you. No one's great at everything, right? We're all great at some things, but not everything. But I will tell you this, instead of calling or putting in a ticket and waiting 60 days for somebody to call you back and they never do, never happens in this booth. These people are in there tomorrow. They're in there that day. Any idea that you have, hey, can we get this? And boy, it'd be great if it did that. Buddy, they are on it. I mean, they got programmers right there and they knock it out. You're not waiting months to get something fixed like these other folks do. I got sick of that. And these people have like a Navy SEAL team. They come in and just knock it out. So, yeah, are they perfect? No one is. But I got to tell you, I'm happy as I can possibly be.
The big one thing I've been frustrated with is having customer profile of everything they've done in the dealership and access that everyone with permission base has access to what the value of that customer is. Have they really, can you really see what they've done in their history? Is that what you see? Is that what the system does?
First of all, I have a tremendous amount of respect for you, Mr. Watson. And thank you for that question. I've been doing this, I got out of college in 1885. The car business is the only thing that I've ever done. And I worked for dealers like yourself for 10 years, handling their accounting work. And I've seen all the brain damage in our business. In the business model of the legacy providers was horizontal integration, where they had the customer's DMS package and they bought all these other patchwork companies to get additional revenue from the dealer. And in my humble opinion, the plan is never, let's make all these different applications through horizontal integration work perfectly for the dealer. So it was a service issue. So no, Tekion's not perfect, but they're my partner in helping to make the software better for me to be more successful. And that's ultimately what we miss in our industry is a true partner. Because the thing with true partners, you wouldn't have to have a 100-page contract if your attorney didn't interpret or change.
Check collectors. Check collectors. Just mail in the checks every month. Never hear them, never see them. Every 5 years, you get real pretty and popular. You're like the real hottie. Everybody wants that to the dance. And then after you sign, you're gone. Right? Done. We're all tired of that. Absolutely tired of that. That is not Tekion. These people are moving the bit. They've got dealer councils for every single aspect of our business. Fix, accounting, dealers, service, everything. They are constant with folks integrating and building out. I mean, they're unreal.
That's right. Once you have the heart and mind of the comptroller, then the whole company can move. That's exactly right. And if you go through a demo, ask for exactly what you wanted to see for your handoff. Because I get what you're saying. And the inefficiencies really, again, like I spoke to before, come from the handoffs from department to department. And you want somebody to make a good decision when they're looking at a guest profile and you can see that they bought 11 vehicles from you. I get it. I want that same experience to be if they bought one. So it leads to 11 sales. You know, I want it to be all there. So they'll take you through that.
Thank you. That's a great question. Do we have any other questions from the audience?
Hopefully not as hard as that one.
That was the question. That was the only one. Well, thank you all very much for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of the show, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.